Welcome one, welcome all again, one more time here on your favorite show, Sankofa, with your host Maponga J, live from Galaxy Universal Networks here in Johannesburg, South Africa. We're looking backwards at the future, researching and looking back at the strength of women in the African culture. Do we have a problem with women as Africans? Is it a Christian problem? Is it a colonial problem? Is it a democratic problem? Does the African man understand the African woman? Does the African woman understand the African man in the 21st century? In the midst of all these contractual obligations of marriages, relationships, employment, and abuse at the workplace, inclusive to GBV, gender-based violence, what are we saying as African people in terms of us in this generation responding to the challenges that we're facing in our generation? With me in the studio tonight, I will not find you a better guest. Tambudzia, Mzenda. Eka. Tambudzia ukumusha kati mboda chigume kuri yako wafa. Timboda kumasulilo na mende ulimo, timbo fara opano zokwadi nati. Magadi no atete. Timbo uchida for the on the base of the Zimbabweans. Magadi no atete. Tino fara magadi. Ndio nambiya wangu kao. These are my grandmothers. We married from their tribe, and my aunt is actually from the Mzenda and the Zogo and the Mudenge tribe. Is one big clique there, right there. Nice to have you on our show today. Introduce yourself to the people. Who are you and what brings you here on Sankofa today?
My name is Tambudzia Muzenda. I'm here to discuss work that I've been doing for some time, but also just wanting to share what our experiences today as African women. You've raised very interesting questions or comments that you've made around, do we understand what we talk about as Africans? Do we understand the role of women? Do we understand the politics? Do we understand empowerment? All of those things. So that's work that I've been doing in the region for the last 15 to 20 years. Women's empowerment. We started with the land movement with women. We went into HIV, we went into sexual and reproductive health rights in the communities, in schools,
while you're
in
on
rural communities.
No, don't hurry me. Take your time. 45,000 women in Kenya wake up one morning and they've been sterilized. They've been given vaccinations. Look, sorry for the language. Whether the United Nations or World Health Organization or some Gates Foundation or whatever, but they want to protect Kenyan women from some unknown problem. Go poking all of them. 45,000 women later wake up in the morning and they no longer have the right to deliver children as human beings. And here you are telling me you are active in the female. What has been your participation in that regard?
Well, my participation is just that women want their rights, but obviously you wake up and you don't have your right. It's been taken away from you. Again, what does that mean in terms of women empowerment? So I've been looking at women empowerment. I've been looking at the word empowerment, and it is the power or authority given to someone to do something, to claim their rights. So if you then have been given the power, which means it is yours, then how is it taken away?
How long have you been in South Africa?
I've been in South Africa for more than 15 years. I was born here in South Africa.
As early as last week, the Constitutional Court of South Africa made a ruling that BE is no longer functional. The whole issue of black empowerment, 51%, it's on Gazette. It has been published. Now, if men are cut off from the economy, of course, due to the colonial system, you have the white men, disagree. You have the white men, you have the coloreds and Indians, you have the black men, we have the white men and the white woman.
The black men.
Then you have the black men, the coloreds and the Indians. Then below that, everybody else. That includes women and children and everybody else. Now here you are in South Africa, looking at the constitutional jurisdiction, governmental gazettes that are now shifting in terms of empowerment of men. And you know, when an African man is disempowered, it's twice for the woman.
Of course.
When you abuse an African man, you abuse an African woman twice.
Yeah.
And this whole thing must be looked at, in my own way, looked at the other way. Because if an African man cannot protect an African woman, you cannot expect a white man to protect an African woman, where the African man is failing to protect the African woman. What's your response?
I want to take it back to maybe, for the lack of a better word, colonialism, because that was the same thing, wasn't it? So maybe it's a recycling of that process. So we are talking again about maybe neoliberalism. We're talking about disempowering. Then we talk about Triple B, the Black Economic Empowerment. How was it supposed to work? And what are the limitations to it? That we have arrived here and that it doesn't work, it implies that those who have been in that position, especially black men who have been empowered, all black people who have been empowered,
have not been effective.
They have not been effective.
Because in honest truth, you get into a big white firm where you're the BE partner. They give you an office at the corner of the third floor. And then they bring you a pile of newspapers every morning where you must read, because you are a political face of the organization.
Window dressing.
You are not here for the operational issues.
No, you don't have the strategic power or decision making.
It's just there as a trophy, so that when we sign in and fill in the B things, we need your signature. Please sign here. You are not even told to read. The instruction is
put your signature.
Sign here. So with most of our African brothers, you have scribbled signatures. And this is not a mystery to many of the billionaires in South Africa. I will not want to mention names. Many of the billionaires in South Africa. I will not exclude the president of the country. Many of the billionaires of South Africa are actually, please sign here. Please sign here. Please sign here. When you look at the abuse of the African man in the hands of colonialism, what hope do you have that by asserting and affirming women into positions of power, their impact in a colonial system that does not respect their men will actually respect their women?
That's a tall order. That's a tall order.
But I want us to think. I want us to think together.
Well, I think that, you know, for me, I want to go back to let me go back to Beijing. Let me tell you a story. I mean, you know, when we began the women's movements, we were saying women have not accelerated, have not had the opportunity, have not had access, whether it was education, whether it was health services,
finance,
you name it, finance,
politics,
right?
yeah.
Then we said, let's give them the step, let's propel them, okay? And for us to be here today and still talk about unemployment and still talk about the number of women who might have jobs, but they're not well-paying jobs. It's an issue of, you know, the working poor. That's what they call them. Because you actually make enough money for you to just get to work. There's nothing else that you do. So you're the working poor.
Working poor.
Working poor.
Let me speak like it's about working poor.
Working poor, because there is some level of dignity that at least right? They're going to work.
Wake up in the morning.
But there is no security. There is no insurance. That job is probably, okay, we just see if we can't give you a contract. So you work for month by month.
Ad hoc.
You don't have benefits, okay?
The restaurant workers. Let's just be blank. In some of the restaurants, actually, you don't even get a salary.
But healthcare workers.
You get a tip. You must pay yourself from the tips on the tables. So if someone gives you 5 rand extra or 10 rand extra, at the conclusion of the month, you put all your tips together and that accumulates your salary.
But I think we haven't shifted a lot of issues. Whilst we talk about rights, whilst we talk about the constitution in this country, a lot of things have not shifted in terms of the real change that we could see. So I think we talk about empowerment from a very superficial level.
It's cosmetic.
Because if you're saying that my grandmother, who was able to vote, but today still lives in a shack.
And the street in front of her house,
there's no
the
water.
pothole It's not been
She
fixed.
covers her face to go to the bathroom.
She's still on the outside toilet.
So I beg to understand what has changed for a few.
What has changed for a few? I like the last part. For a
Few.
few.